the Mississippi Crop Situation Podcast featuring the Crop Doctors.
Good afternoon from the Crop Doctors Podcast studio in Stoneville. Two special guests with us today. The director of Mississippi State Extension, Angus Catchot. And what are you like we're gonna call you a minion?
I'm just happy to be here.
You're a minion.
He's driver today. Didn't you hear him say that?
Okay.
He
He
navigates Dr. Catchot between gas stations for him to get a refill on his coffee.
That would be Trent Irby. So Angus and Trent are over here for a soybean promotion board meeting that we had this morning. Angus owed us, and he keeps blowing us off. So how long have you been on that job? Like
about
9 months?
About 8 months now.
8 months. Yeah. Even though Angus was in on the ground floor of this podcast, he moved on to bigger and better things and then blew us off for
I think he's blowing us off because the couch is gone.
6 months. Yeah.
Well, I do miss the couch. I don't even think I've seen this setup y'all have now, but I do like it.
I thought
It's
you'd
good.
been in
Have
here.
you not? Yeah.
I don't think I've been in here since.
Yeah,
this.
you did it. You did it last
But
year.
it didn't look like this.
Yeah, it did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you just didn't have the neon sign.
No, we
The
didn't have
neon
the
sign's a
neon
little overwhelming.
Yeah.
That thing hits the ball out of the park.
I guess it could be brighter, but I'm not sure how.
If it was, it would burn straight through the wall.
Wow.
If you lay that thing out in the parking lot, they'll be complaining about it from the space station. That thing is bright.
Yeah, Angus, you came and did a podcast probably after this meeting last year.
I think you're right.
And-
That's when I was on the Memphis side.
And I remember we said we had to go ahead and get that podcast out before it came out that you were going to apply for the extension
I think
director
you're
job because
right.
all of that was happening about the
That's
same
right.
time.
That's right. I think you're right.
And
Really glad he remembers these things.
well, I didn't want to waste a podcast, man. I mean, I put a lot of effort into these things. I don't want to waste one, not be able to use it. All right, Angus. So you and your driver over here, you're not going to say anything. Trent's just over here smiling.
I'm just sitting here thinking, what are they going to call me next?
Well, you do have to properly introduce Trent though, because Trent is now.
That's true. Well, why don't you properly introduce him?
So Trent came on full time April 1, but he started interim January 1. So Trent is the associate director of extension for A&R, Ag and Natural Resources.
Y'all don't do minions at y'all's house? Minions are big at our house.
No, I got 2 girls, man. We don't have any minions.
Remind me to tell you a story about Minion. It's funny. All right, so you got your driver, Angus. I know y'all spend a lot of time together. Driving down the road, assuming phones are not active. Driving down the road, what's the radio tuned to?
We don't ever have the radio on.
See,
You know what
Never.
that's called? Quality
Never.
conversation.
Quality
That's what that's called.
conversation.
See,
I
I
don't
was
know that
afraid-
we've ever had the radio
I was
on.
afraid that was going to be the answer, and now
No.
my question crashed and
That's
burned.
exactly what Steve Martin said to me years ago. He said, I drive around the state and I never have the radio on. And I looked at Steve and I said, see, that I'm the complete antithesis of you. I have never turned my radio off.
Well, see, we would just have to turn it down so often because of all the valuable information and the conversations that we have.
That's right.
Radio
Is that-
down, back up.
Well, I
Down,
will
back up.
say
Is that a fact?
Fact.
in the times that I have toured Jason around the state to take him to some places that he's unfamiliar with, to show him some weeds, it's usually been extremely long days. The radio's probably been on and down so low that you can't hear anything, and we never stop talking
Well,
the whole day. And
I'll
it's
give you
always
that.
a good
There you go.
conversation.
Yeah.
I'll redirect the question or modify the question. Angus is just driving down the road. What's the radio tuned to?
Well, a lot of times, even by myself, I don't have the radio on. I just trying to think through everything I got to do. But if it's on, if I do have the radio on, it's going to be on some country station.
Man, I was hoping for more.
No, it's simple. I mean, I generally have it in the background, some country station.
I don't know what I was hoping for, but I don't know.
I had it on yesterday in the tractor, and it had been a while since I had listened to country music. Quite a while.
Well, I'm not big on new country, but it's about the only choice I got in the areas I live in.
Clearly, lots of high-level thought process going on in extension now, and obviously you two are going to make some big changes, and I think there have been some clear-cut changes. Anything that you want to elaborate on now?
Well, I would say, anytime you move into a role like this, you obviously want to do things your way, but you don't want to do anything that would jeopardize anything that was working really well. So I spent several months, I'd say, just diving into every crevice of extension, and the things that made sense we've kept and built upon, doubled down on some, and some of the things that didn't make sense we've just simply got rid of. I mean, that's kind of always been my philosophy. If it works, we're going to keep doing it. If it don't, we're going to quit. And that's an easy philosophy, and it makes a lot of sense. It resonates with people, and people get behind it. We've had a lot of people retire. We've had a lot of people move jobs and various things, and we've lost some experience in some areas, but at the same time, that's created a lot of opportunity. A lot of opportunity for new, fresh ideas, things that hadn't been done before. And every opportunity we get, Trent and I are out in the state, visiting county offices, doing faculty meetings on campus or wherever, trying to be more visible, talk to everybody, and get their opinion on how they think things should run, plant our seeds on how we think it should go. And so far, everybody's buying in, and I think we got a lot of motivation right now.
Hey, move that up in front of your face because you keep falling out. No, just move the whole thing up. There you go.
It's super directional.
Yeah.
That's actually why
Yeah.
it doesn't pick up the air conditioner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Angus, we were teasing about you applying for that job and stuff when we started. So what do you think after a few months of doing it? Is it everything you thought it would be? Is it more overwhelming than you thought it would be? And I'm not talking about the day-to-day stuff, but just the big picture stuff that people would be interested as stakeholders in the state.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's been a lot of surprises. So obviously I'm connected to agriculture. I mean, that's my background. I've worked with you all my whole career. So there's some areas of extension that I obviously wasn't familiar with, but the objective is still the same. I mean, we take research-based data and we disseminate it throughout the state, and hopefully it changes somebody's lives or economic bottom line or cultural, social well-being, something. So what we do in extension is the same, whether it's agriculture or any other area, family consumer sciences, 4-H, community resource development. The goal is ultimately the same, to change the lives of the people in this state and beyond. And so I don't think that concept is real foreign probably to any of us. So I wouldn't say it's been overwhelming. I would say that the biggest thing is trying to, like I said earlier, double down on some things that we think are really good. If we got programs that I would say are very popular, rather than just status quo, put some resources in it, maybe some people behind it, whatever it takes, to build them even better. And I'm going to give y'all an example that I don't know how well it'll resonate with your crowd, but the example's good. We talk about this. I guarantee we talk about this once a week. Trent can verify this. We do therapeutic riding in West Point. And basically we take veterans or folks that have been in prison, handicapped kids, you name it. And it's not big groups, but there's full classes. And they come to our facilities, and we have these really old horses that are super gentle. And these folks bond with these horses, and it's just unbelievable the stories that we get from it. When I first looked at that program, it's costing us a lot of money to run this program. And we don't get a lot of return on the investment in the standpoint of economics. Where we're getting the return on the investment is when you read the testimonials of the people that go through this program. I mean, I got a letter the other day. This lady's kid had autism and couldn't fit in. And after going through this therapeutic riding program that we have, I mean, completely changed the kid's life. He's interacting, got all kind of friends, moved to a new school. It's like night and day. But the same kind of stories from our veterans with PTSD and that kind of stuff. But it's unbelievable the results that this thing's producing. So rather than us looking at this program and saying, this is costing us a bunch of money, now this is an example where I say we doubled down. Now we're looking at every opportunity to get funding, to keep this program going, to build it, to grow it. And this is strictly based on all of the numerous testimonials that we've got from people that's going through it. It's changing people's lives. I mean, that's what we're about. So we're finding a way to make it solvent, and we're moving forward. And there's a bunch of other examples. That's just one program that really resonates with a lot of people. And when you hear about how it changes people's lives, that's what we want to be a part of. And we're going to find a way to make it solvent. I don't care if we make money on it, but we're going to find a way to to bring it in and make it where it's self-sustaining, where we can grow it even bigger. And we got a lot of plans about that. But that's just one tiny example. There's numerous examples in other areas too. But that's one of the big ones. And Trent can elaborate on that because he's worked on this project some.
One of the things that has been eye-opening for me is just all the other things that Extension does, right? Again, spent my whole career in row crop ag, but this particular program, I've been able to witness some of the activities. I've heard multiple testimonies. I've seen the folks that run it in action, and, just another example is like a kid that has never spoken a word, a several-year-old child that had never spoken a word, spoke their first word doing therapeutic riding. So it's just really things that are very impactful, very hard to put a dollar amount, I guess, to measure it, but it's just an incredible thing that impacts so many different people.
Well, and then how do you take something like that and apply that to other areas within Extension? Because that's essentially what we would like to do in row crop agriculture.
Well, I would say that model fits everything we do, but in a different way. So the way that on the row crop agriculture side, rather than the horses and therapeutic riding side, would be anytime y'all go out to a guy's farm, and when y'all leave that farm, and they go, "Man, thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you did, what you mean to me on my farm, my bottom line." I mean, that's the same thing. It's different, but it's the same. I think that's where we get our gratification in the Extension service. We don't get it from the bosses, the department heads, from our building. You do, but you know what I mean. But where you get your gratification that you're doing the right thing is when you hang up with that consultant, that farmer, that dealer, or whoever, and he says, "Man, just thank you for what you did." That's where I always got mine, and that means a lot. And so it's the same, but it's different.
Well, and I think that's the most gratifying part of the job that we have within Extension, is being able to do that and just hear one person say
right.
that at the end of the day. And everybody feels that way. Sometimes they just forget to say that,
yeah.
I think.
No, I completely agree. I think the Extension service at Mississippi State, and obviously I believe this, and I know you all do, I believe that we are well respected across the state by our growers and everybody else, everybody that we touch. And I take a lot of responsibility in making sure we keep that up to where it is. And, one of the things that I've realized recently is I looked at a study out of Georgia. It was some publication, so it came across my desk or something, but it was in Georgia. And Georgia has a really good county program in Georgia. I spent some time in Georgia. They got great agents over there, great faculty. But even in the state of Georgia, I think they had surveyed about 4,000 people. And it was really an awareness survey. And it was like, have you ever heard of the Extension service? And it was only like 40% of the people in this survey that even heard of the Extension service. And out of that 40, only 23% had ever utilized the Extension service. So if that was the case in Georgia, surely it would be the same over here, or maybe even, it could be a little different, but I'm suspecting it'd be the same. So one of the things that we're really, really working on is telling our story better. Y'all are probably aware, you remember I did this campaign about the explain Extension in 6 words or less, where it just resonates with the everyday people. We have those 10 people that won. I'll probably announce that at our annual conference. But I want to take that message and from some of the slogans or the taglines that we got, and I want to plaster it all around this state. I don't care if we paint it on somebody's grain bin. So any of you out there listening, if you got a grain bin or a barn on the side of the road that's in a well-populated area and y'all want Extension on it, you call us. We'd love to put Mississippi State Extension, extending knowledge, changing lives, or whatever it may be, that tagline that goes with it. We want to get our message out across the whole state, because believe it or not, we all have good groups of people that we work with, but there's a tremendous number of people that still are not utilizing the services that we have to offer. And it may not be in the ag area, it could be in family consumer sciences or any of those areas, but we got a lot to offer. And I don't want for people to say, hey, y'all are the best kept secret. I hate that, and I hear it all the time. But that's one of the big goals that we have and things we talk about all the time, is how are we going to get that message out where we can even reach more people in this state and help them.
Angus, 2-part question. One, just for folks that are not aware of these different areas of Extension that you've referenced, list them off and maybe just a brief comment about what each of those areas are. And then let's move into agriculture part of Extension. And Trent's here and like to hear what y'all's plans are for the areas that affects a lot of our listeners, which is going to be growers and consultants.
Yeah, so when you talk programmatic stuff, that don't really resonate with a lot of people, but we are sort of defined by 4 programmatic areas, and that's basically an umbrella that really that covers a whole bunch of things. I'll save ag for last. Probably one of the biggest ones that we're most widely known for, and it's not just at Mississippi State, it's at all the land grants, really, is 4-H. You absolutely cannot believe how much 4-H resonates with a lot of people in this state. We got about 51,000 kids in Mississippi that are involved in 4-H, and basically 4-H, we're doing job force training. People that go through 4-H, there's plenty of studies show they're twice as likely to go to college or 4 times as likely to come back and give back to their community. And one of the stats that I've used a lot, and I've used it when we were in Jackson during the session, and because I've told my own kids this kind of in a different way, when we've surveyed all the kids in 4-H, 99% of them believe that it's important to get out of bed and get to work on time, have a relationship with your coworkers, and not be late for work and do a good job. And that's what I've always told my kids. But our 4-Hers resonate with that. They go through these programs, they learn responsibility, whether it's raising an animal, taking care of an animal, feeding an animal, or they may even be involved in robotics or you name it. But 4-H is a very, very powerful vehicle for developing youth in this state, and there's plenty of stats out there that show how important it is. But so 4-H is obviously very big for us, and that's in one of those another areas where I said we're about to add a lot more resources and grow it more. But 4-H is huge for extension, and it covers everything. The other one's family and consumer sciences, and I don't know how familiar y'all are. I wasn't extremely familiar with family and consumer sciences before taking this job, but basically family and consumer sciences is the old home ec. That's what it was born out of. They changed the name at some point. But we have all kind of agents and faculty at this university, extension faculty, that are working in the areas of nutrition and health. And I honestly believe with some of the programs that we have going on around this state, and it's things that y'all are probably not as familiar with because I wasn't. If you look at Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, we're last in about all the metrics on everything. There's obesity and this and that. I truly believe that our extension agents in the counties and our faculty are helping move that needle through the programs that they're putting on in those areas, just like you all are putting on programs in the row crop area. Very, very powerful area that we work in, and that's another one that we're very interested in expanding and helping grow the areas where we need to grow the areas, but we got a lot of great metrics on that. And the last one is community resource development. What community resource development is, it's a little more, maybe somebody in a community, in a rural community, needs more training on whether they're, how to work computers, how to do Excel sheets, how to start a business, whether it's entrepreneurship, just letting it grow from a very small thing in a county and trickle out. There's all kind of things that we do there. We have a big responsibility right now for training a lot of the elected officials across the state, so we're very active in that. So again, that's areas that you all are probably not as familiar with, but are nonetheless very important. And then I'll end on this, because it's what y'all going to want to talk about the most, is our ag and natural resources, and that's what Trent here is the associate director for that. So he helps lead the areas of our ag and conservation and stuff like that through the ag and natural resources, and we can build on that now as much as y'all would like.
Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your role and what you've moved into then, Trent, expanding on what Angus just briefly described.
With my transition from extension faculty into associate director, we talked about gratification earlier and some of the things that we experience as extension professionals and helping people. One of the most enjoyable things that I guess that I've seen in this transition is just seeing all the other things that's going on outside of the world of soybeans that I lived in, right? So everything from wildlife, natural resource conservation, vegetable crops, you name it. It's a lot of activities, a lot of programs offered by a lot of agents, a lot of faculty all around the state. And so that's been a real pleasure for me to be able to see that and see the impact of those things. And I think moving forward, we're always open to any ideas, any needs, any stakeholder needs of things that we can address. And one of the topics I think that comes to mind I still do talk to people a little bit about soybeans, and I've heard a lot of discussion this growing season around wildlife impacts in crops, right? So I think that there's some resources and some efforts and things that we can do to try to address that from both fronts, both from a wildlife standpoint, conservation standpoint, and from the row crop standpoint to find a medium. So I think that we'll see additional programs being developed and offered as we get needs such as that moving forward. The flip side of that, and how some of these things in my mind tie together, like 4-H, for example, there's a program that's called Farmtastic, right? So Farmtastic is a targeted program to 2nd through 4th graders around the state. And when we think about, it's things that I took for granted as a child, because I did grow up on a farm. I grew up knowing where my clothes came from. I grew up knowing where my food came from, right? So not everyone has the opportunity to see firsthand, how crops are grown or how animals are raised and things of that nature, how timber is produced. So this Farmtastic program, I think, is a very valuable tool that we can put some additional resources in and use that as an educational program through 4-H to educate the youth in our state directly to the importance of agriculture as an industry for our state.
So I was going to sit here and say, we all have kids, and they're all different ages, and I think that's something that if you get outside of our general households, the numbers of people that don't know where things come from at the grocery store, how regularly are we listening to that on the news or reading an article about it? How many generations are we from just about everybody being on the farm? Two of you in this room, for sure, 3 of you grew up related to row crop agriculture, and I didn't. And lots of people now outside, especially in urban areas, have absolutely no idea where food's coming from.
Angus, again, 8 months in, and I know there's still a lot that you don't know and a lot that you're not sure what it's going to eventually look like. But in the time that you've been there, what are your biggest needs that you've been able to identify?
Well, I would say if you look at the extension service right now, I don't think anybody that's familiar with it, I don't think you'd find anybody that don't appreciate what we do and think that we bring tremendous value to them individually, to their community, or the region that they're in. I think that's well understood. Where our challenges lie are maintaining a decent state budget to be able to keep the people in place that are doing the jobs, to be able to build on new areas, many of the ones that we've talked about here today. To give you an example, in the late 80s, we had almost 1,300 people in the extension service. We're below 700 right now. We're about 675. So we've shrunk almost, by half in just a number of years. And part of that is mainly because our budgets just haven't kept up with inflation. That's a tremendous problem for us. I think what we do is important, and I think the citizens of the state think it's important. And I would encourage anybody out here listening, every opportunity you get, every time you see a legislator, anybody, a county official, tell them what you think about extension. Tell them what we're doing for you and what we mean, and I think that'll go a long way. Now, we're doing some things on our end proactively. We're trying to be good stewards of the money that we get. There's no question about that. I've already mentioned if we got something that don't make sense, we're just cutting it. It's just that simple. The things that are important, we're building on. But in order for us to maintain this high level of ability that we've been putting out, the level of professionalism, the level of the number of faculty that we have, the number of county agents that we have, it takes dollars. Every time that our budgets get tight, we get somebody that retires or whatever, we're not able to fill the position. With cost of living going up, it's just very hard to keep up. Money's probably our biggest thing. But now I say all that to say this: we definitely appreciate everybody if you would voice your opinion and what you think about extension. But at the same time, we're not just sitting back and taking it. We're doing some pretty unique things right now in the individual counties where we're actually sharing agents across counties, because we don't have the money to necessarily put multiple agents in every county. So we're now hiring ag agents that may cover 2 counties instead of 1. That's something that I've thought of even years ago as a faculty member, and we're doing that. And we've been successful with that, and I think we've closed now about 5 of those. And so far, it's working extremely well. So there are some things that we're doing to tighten our belt as well in response to sometimes budgets that are not exactly where we need to be. But that's probably one of our biggest needs. The ideas are there, the momentum's there. I think all of our plans appear to be on target with what the people want, what our agents want, what the faculty want. But sometimes it just takes resources to be able to deliver on that.
Stuff doesn't happen overnight.
It does not happen overnight, but you know me, I like things to happen overnight, but I'm getting used to it.
I've worked with you long enough to know that.
Yeah.
You expect answers and quick action.
Yep. But I will say some of the things we've talked about today, getting our message out, I think in the long run, those things will come back to you and pay dividends. Now, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, but as we bring our awareness up, and the value that we hold for the people in this state, I think it will turn back around and pay us dividends back. I just believe it will. I believe in the Extension Service that much, and I have no doubt it'll happen. Now, whether that's 2 years or 5 years or 10, I don't know, but I think it will come back if we're successful in getting our message out.
I know there's some things that you can't talk about, Angus, but if there is one, give us one example of one of your big, audacious goals. That would be a noticeable difference from what we are currently familiar with in Extension.
Well, I currently have 30 counties with only one agent in it. And whether or not you've been involved with the county system or you work directly with faculty or you did some of both, I don't like that at all. I think that when we have one agent in a county, that agent's trying to cover ag, that agent's trying to cover 4-H, that agent's trying to cover family consumer sciences. And to be quite honest, it's very difficult. And when you got that many, you're wearing that many hats, you can't be good at anything. To be honest, I mean, you can help a little bit here and there, but you're being pulled in a lot of directions. 4-H takes a lot of your time.
And I tell you, a thing that I haven't been as aware of, or I haven't been aware of in the past, is the overlap in those time requirements.
So my goal then would be to, and at least every county have at least 2 agents. So we have an ag agent that all they do when their feet hit the floor in the morning is they're working for ag. Have a 4-H agent that when their feet hit the floor every morning, they're doing 4-H stuff. So that's one goal, is to at least have 2 agents in every county, and some need 3 and some even need 4, depending on the size of the county. The other thing is I'd like to be able to add 10 to 15 extension faculty positions. There's a lot of areas that I think that we could definitely impact if we had the ability to add more faculty. So that's probably my biggest goal. But again, that's going to be one of the hardest ones to achieve, because that's one of them you could fill right now if you had money.
Yeah. Trent, you got any parting shots?
Just decide what you're going to call me.
Trent.
I like it.
Driver.
Trent. That's what I'm going to call you. Angus can call you whatever he wants to. He signs the checks, right?
That's right.
All right, Angus, basically same question, different form. What do you say to a guy listening to our podcast about Mississippi State Extension?
Well, I would say tell us what we're doing good. Tell us also what we're doing bad. I like to hear the bad as much as I like to hear the good. Now, I get a lot of the good. I really do. If we got problems, I want to know about it. I mean, we'll address them. We're going to fix them. We are here for you. I think we always have been. We always will be. If there's areas that we are not touching, that we need to be touching, we want to hear from you. I mean, look, I don't hide behind my office phone. I don't even on my business cards, I got my cell phone. I don't care if you're who you are, whether you work for us, whether you don't. I give my cell phone to everybody. I want to hear from you. Like I said, the people in this state got great ideas. There's things out there right now we haven't even thought of yet that we have expertise to help with, and that's what we do. So I just want to hear from you. I want to hear the good and the bad.
Well, man, we appreciate it. You know, guys like Tom and I, you know, with you and Trent moving to these jobs, a little bittersweet because we ran together for so long and did a lot of good things back down the line. But we're also proud to have y'all in the leadership roles that you're in now, because y'all do a lot for guys like me and Tom too.
Well, and that goes both ways. We appreciate for certainly what you all do. We appreciate what all of our faculty and staff do, and we appreciate what our people in the counties do. And we just want all the citizens of this state to have that same appreciation. And again, that's why it's so important for us to hear from you.
Thanks. It's good to see y'all, as always.
The Mississippi Crop Situation Podcast is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.